Welcome back to the garage. It is a great day to be in here because it is cold outside. Last video, what did I do on the last video? Oh, I fit the landing gear on. So now we're working on finishing up the skin here on the center wing on this side. Now what I've been doing is I deburred everything, cleaned everything up, and I've been doing some riveting. So that line of rivets there, we got that on. Got all the ribs riveted on. They call for the type 2 AVEX, the pull type rivets, except for the inner one because it has to go through the spar carry through, so they have to be longer. So we use type 1 rivets there, the longer ones there. And this section on the outside of this rib here gets type 1 rivets, the solid ones. Everything else is type 2, real easy, fun to put in. So now that the ribs are on, I can start putting the skins back on. Well, I can start deburring them and then putting the skins back on. All right, we got all the skins back on there. Double checked, everything is square, just like it should be. All the panels are deburred. We still have a couple of things to do before we can finish rivet anything. One is I have to put a line of rivets there on that edge, and apparently I screwed up on that this edge was supposed to go under this angle. Now, there was a couple of reasons I didn't put it under the angle. Number one, it already tapers back there, so that's obviously not going to go under the angle. Number two, the instructions simply said that the skin is riveted straight to the fuselage. And I already had the bottom angles put on when I did the fuselage, and there wasn't anything that said you needed to not rivet that, you know, because the skins on the wings are supposed to go under it. Like this back here, it specifically says don't rivet that until, you know, you put the trailing edge on it. And the other thing was that in the plans, it doesn't call out a rivet spacing for this edge, but in the quick build manual that I bought, it calls for a 1-inch spacing on this edge, and the angle is a 2-inch spacing. So that again made me think it was supposed to be separate. Well, I'm not rebuilding the panels just to move that under that edge, so we're going to go with the idea of putting the rivets, a new set of rivets along the edge at a 1-inch spacing. So we need to do that, and then we need to cut the holes in the skins here. I need to mark them and cut them out to give access to the bolts to take the wing off. I have got all of the panels on. Everything's laying about as flat as it's going to get. Cut out the access holes for the spars. Got every spare cleco I have in here. So I'm going to go to town riveting. That video I watched from Hummel, they suggested do the spar cap line and work your way toward each end of the wing, pushing the material ahead of you, especially here on the nose where you got to bring it around. Any extra gathers up there in the front. I don't know about you, but it looks like a good day to work on the airplane in the nice warm garage. Yesterday, I got all the bottom of the wing riveted. Put a couple of bolts in that to hold it on. Got the back all riveted except for this piece here, because remember we got to put the trailing edge on there. I'm really happy with the way that looks. It laid out nicely. So now, time to flip it over and we'll rivet the top side. All right, the top of this one is all done. Everything's riveted up. Didn't come out too bad. There's no creases, but there's a little dips in places where the rivets go in, but that seems to be pretty normal. So now, turn the attention back over to this side. I'm going to do a little different on bringing the aluminum around the front ribs. So we'll see how that works, but I need to flip it back over so I can start on the bottom where it's wider. The main thing I'm doing different on this side is I've got the tapered cut that I copied from the other piece. So I got that on there, but instead of going ahead and drilling the holes on this back edge to go in the spar cap, I'm just using tape. I've got a little reference line right here to keep it straight. Use the tape. Go ahead, and next I'll put the bend in the front to go around the nose ribs, but that'll give me a little more wiggle room over here in case I mess up that line as I'm fitting it to the fuselage. I can slide it in and correct it, hopefully. Well, hopefully there won't be any problems. Yeah, I put my lines on here where I want the bend to be. So I've just been rolling it like this, keeping the edge lined up, keeping the line straight. And then just pressing down and kind of rolling it back and forth. You need a bend there where it goes right over the front of the ribs, and then the rest of it just follows along. So that should get me what I need right there. All right, I think the tape method is going to work better than I did the first time. See, I've still got some overhang there, so I got some room to play with. This looks pretty good there. But we're butted up against it right here. And then when we go down underneath, we've got a little too much gap. So what I need to do is shave a little bit right here and probably a little bit on the edge up top. And then I can move it toward the fuselage and close that gap up. That worked really well. We now have a nice tight line around there. I think I took that off 4 or 5 times and just did minor trims. You can see where I was marking it where I wanted to trim it. Now, oh, and also make sure to keep track of where your ribs are when you're doing that. But since I'm bowing it around the ribs, it doesn't tend to push them out of place. It doesn't appear like it did the way I was doing it last time, where I just had it draped down and was trying to rivet this section in. So going ahead and forming the nose bend first works good too. So right now, I need to get a line of holes in the back here into the spar cap. Once that's done, then I can go ahead and move forward and put the holes into the ribs. Okay, I did like before, flap the rear skin over the nose skin, drilled my line of holes there, using the rear skin as a drill guide. Then I went ahead and extended my rivet line for the ribs onto the nose. Now we'll take it off, trim that back edge, make sure it's straight line with the holes, and we'll go ahead and drill the holes to fit on the front ribs. All right, boys and girls, raise your hand if you saw the mistake I just about made. I drew all the lines and drew the one for the step rib, which there is no step rib on the front. And so I pulled this panel off and it's like, wait a minute, I got more lines than ribs. So caught it in time, but that's how easy it is to screw stuff up. She is back on there. Everything still lines up good all the way around. She's taped down below the holes there, just a little. Move it over and they will line up just perfect. So start in the middle, work my way out, and we'll drill into the ribs. So far, not looking too bad. Got everything drilled on the bottom, including the line up there where it hooks the fuselage. So now it's time to flip it back over and get it fastened to the nose ribs on the top side. We're right side up again. I overlap the rear panel over the nose skin and drill down through the nose skin using this as a drill guide. I did notice there's one spot in the plans where it says that the back skin is supposed to overlap the nose skin, just like I've got it here. And that seemed wrong to me. I mean, I know this is not a fighter plane, but having an edge like that facing forward just didn't seem right. And everyone that I'd seen, the nose skin overlapped this. Well, I was watching one of Dennis Brooks' videos last night, and they were looking at the original Hummel Ultracruiser that Maury Hummel built, and the rear skin was indeed on top of the nose skin. And apparently, the guy, I think his name was Riblet, that designed this wing, that's how he had it put on there, and that's how he told Maury to put it on there, was the back skin overlapping the nose skin. But Dennis also pointed out nobody does it that way because it just seems wrong. So I'm going to do it just like the other side. The nose skin will be overlapping the trailing edge there, or the nose skin will be on top of the rear skin when it's done. But it does work good to drill through there like that. You got it pulled nice and tight with the tape so it lays nice and flat down on the ribs. I noticed I've got a couple of little dimples there where it's going over those nose ribs. So when I peel that back, I'm going to take the grinder to the nose ribs just a little bit, smooth those out. That way we don't have the dents there. And another thing I noticed in one of those videos, apparently the newer ribs have adjusted the nose to where they don't flare out there in the beginning. It's instead of curving right around on the leading edge, they actually are just flat and have a reinforcement bend, because they really, the bow is what, the actual curve there is what holds that in its shape. I have the ribs drilled and clecoed in place. And I must say, this side looks better than the other side, which reinforces the idea that by the time I build about 3 of these airplanes, I'd actually probably be pretty good at it. And here at XP's Garage, we not only work on airplanes, we tend to build custom tools to help the installation process. Now, if you're putting these in, you've got to remember, you've got to line up that rib with the holes. So, unless you've got a really long arm, you may have a hard time getting to that inner one. So, we have got the patented rib pusher. But wait, there's more. With the addition of a notch on the end, it is not only a rib pusher, but it's a puller too. I put these on my website in 1995. I apologize, I may have drank too much coffee this morning. All right, back to being serious. We're down to trimming, oh yes, it's also a pointer. We're down to trimming the edge here. We need to put the notches to access the spar, top and bottom, and the back. And I need to, we'll start finish rivet on the bottom like last time, so we'll flip it over, we'll fix the landing gear like we did the other side, get the pad mounted into the lower spar. So that will be up next, but I am very happy with the way that laid down on those front ribs, and I may have to go back and do a little tweaking on the other side to make it look as good. The end is trimmed down. We've got the spots marked for the spar bolt access. So now it's ready to take it apart, cut those, start deburring, and riveting as soon as we mark the holes for the landing gear. I have got it all torn down, and I have been deburring stuff like a rabid squirrel. Everything is deburred that's on here, and like the ribs and stuff, I'm deburring those as I put them on. Got the one inside rib in there, which is the one that's a pain because it uses solid rivets going through the spar web there. Now, I definitely see why Matt at Hummel recommends flipping that around to where the angle is on the outside, facing out. It was a little fiddly to get the impact in and the steel bar on the other side to flatten the other end of the rib, but it's in there. Rest of them go in with type 2 pull rivets. So back to deburring some ribs, and we'll just go right on across. Well, it's been quite a bit of work to get to this point, but it is all on there, deburred. Got the holes cut out for the spar attachment. The one thing I hadn't built yet that needed to go on there right now is the little step reinforcement. And that's just a piece of 40,000 6061. The plans called for it being like 5-6 inches longer. Cut it down if you're going for ultra lightweight, so I cut it a little shorter. So let's get to riveting. I decided not to flip the wing over this time, so we'll just do all this from below, which, it's not that bad. Get the I've done the spar cap on the top, do the spar cap on the bottom, and then we'll start working our way out toward the ends. I have got both sides totally riveted on. There's the side I did before and the one I've just been working on. Nice little step there on the back. I'm getting excited. I had one other viewer mention that after he got the center wing skinned, stuff started getting more fun and easier, and I can see that. This was kind of a difficult project, getting stuff to fit around the fuselage and everything, but now it's done, and I'm happy. I'm happy with the way it turned out. So next video, when I come back with the next video, this thing should be sitting on its main landing gear, because that's going to be the next project. I'm going to finish it up, get it mounted up. I've got tires and wheels over there in a box. The only thing I don't have is the brakes, which I haven't even decided what kind of brakes to use yet, but I'll work that out later. But there'll be some welding, some machining, got to put a hole through the bottom skin there, but it'd be nice to have this to where it rolls. Get it off the front sawhorse, get the landing gear under it. So be watching for that video. Catch you on the next one.